Hello, and welcome to the next video tutorial. In this part, we'll be going over importing your data into Formable, specifically user data in this first half. In the next half of the importing data, we'll go over FIA data. In this import data part, we'll go over user data. So assuming you have Formable installed, all we need to do is come here to our Start menu. If you're on Windows, you can search for Maple, and it will launch the app. Or if you have it on your desktop, you have a desktop shortcut here, which you can open. So I'm going to open up here. So I'm going to double click the shortcut. It's going to open up for Maple in a new window, and it's going to pop it open in the browser. And we should be good to go. Alrighty, so when you first boot up for Maple, you're going to see this sort of interface. It's going to start you on the import tab. This is where we want to be. This is how you load your data into Formable. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger so it's easier to see on the camera. And I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen too. Okay, so now we're in the app. So we'll start off with importing user data. So the first thing is again, reading is always fundamental. So if you read this import data text, it kind of tells you what your data should be like. So we're assuming your data follows a tidy format. Just to kind of summarize, a tidy format is where every observation is a row. Let's say you have one tree. Each attribute, or each tree follows a row, and the attributes about that tree or plot are the columns. So you can have columns like that we need, such as your plot ID, your species, your diameters, your year, and your expansion factor, whether that be trees per acre, a basal area factor, a plot radius, etc. So you need these 5 different types of columns at the minimum to use Formable. So assuming you have those, you can either upload your data as a single data table. So this would be, you make sure you have all of these in one table, or like most people do, you could have your data split up into multiple tables. So I'm going to use an example for multiple tables here, just because it'll kind of demonstrate the point, and it's going to be similar to single tables, but this will kind of showcase all of the options with Formable when importing your data. So I'm going to go ahead here and choose multiple tables. And for anything, if you click on this little info icon, it's going to tell you what to do. So are all of the required variables, these variables, stored in a single table or multiple tables? Mine are multiple, so I'm going to click that button. So next it's going to prompt you to upload, at minimum, your tree data. So this contains things like your species, your diameters, and your, typically that's all you need for tree data. And you also need a plot table, which will contain things like your plot coordinates, optionally, your inventory year, your plot identifiers, and potentially expansion factors, depending on where that's stored. So for this demo, I will be using a data set from the USDA Forest Service. I will showcase here. This from this publication. If you're interested, you can go ahead and download this data and follow along. So you can find this data here. This is it if you want to find it. I already have mine pre-downloaded. So the first step is we need to download our tree data, or upload it into Formable. So here, if you click the info button, it'll tell you, okay, find your tree level data. We support multiple formats: CSV, Excel, JSON, Parquet, GeoPackage, GeoJSON, blah, 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 all these awesome formats. I'm assuming one of your data falls into this type. So you can come here to browse, and it will ask you where your data is. Mine is on my desktop under Formable Demo, Example Data, and Data. So this data is a CSV file. So I'm going to click the tree data CSV, click Open. This is going to load the data into Formable. Okay, so the first thing we'll see here is a table preview. You can go ahead and expand this. It'll tell you the first 10 column or the 10 rows of your data. So you can see we have our columns loaded here. We have around 500,000 rows, 14 columns in the stats, and we can go ahead and select or deselect columns that we want to keep. So I don't need this comments column, so I can go ahead and remove this. If we want to add it back, we can browse and select it. So here you can select all the columns you want. And I won't show this here, but this is another feature for Maple. So if you have multiple data files for your tree that are split into unique files, let's say tree data from one site, tree data from another, and they're in the same format, you can simply upload as many tree tables as you want. It will bind those by the rows, so that way it'll basically stack all your data on top of each other without you having to manually copy and paste from the different files. But since I just have one data here, we should be fine with this. So now we've looked at our tree. This is good. Let's come to our plot. In our plot, we also want to select our plot data. So it's the same thing as the tree. We browse to this, and we're going to enter our plot locations here. We're going to open this, and we can look at this, and we can see, cool, we have our plot identifiers, the easting, northings, latitude, longitudes. Cool, we have our plot information. So now what we can do is we can come here, check the stats, 409 rows, 12 columns, that's cool. We can select the columns we want. We want to keep all of these. And same thing as the tree data, you can also optionally upload multiple tables and it will row bind them without you needing to copy and paste them, as long as they're in the same format, of course. Now, optionally, we have an other column, or an other data type here. So this is any other attribute that is in your plots that you want to add that isn't specifically tree or plot specific. We can go ahead and add this. So in my case, we're going to browse to this, and this is similar. In this case, this is tree location data. This is other tree attributes that may not be needed, but you can add if you want to. In this case, we have the distance and azimuth from the plot center to every tree. So anything in here that you want to add, you can just click Add Other. You can add as many of these as you want. And again, you can choose the columns. I don't want comments, I can delete this. And you can also bind multiple of these by rows if you so have your data split up into multiple subtables. Cool. So now I have my tree, my plot, and some other data. Now what do you do? So you can come up here to the top, and you can use this little arrow to navigate to the next part. So we've gotten all of our data imported. Now we can set up our plot design and select our columns to make sure that FormApel knows what columns to use. So I can come here to select columns, and it's going to ask you, okay, these are the columns we need for FormApel to run. We need our plot keys. And so what this is a unique identifier that identifies all plots in your data. So for this data set, it's going to be the experiment number and the plot. So this is our unique key that tells FormApel, hey, this is a unique plot, use this. Again, for a species, we need to know the data species. We can come here and select whatever your species column is. In this case, it's the U.S. Forest Service species ID. This is really cool. So if you want to convert your species codes to like an FIA standard, you can optionally click this button. That's what let you do. For every one of your species, you can then assign it its corresponding FIA species codes. And there's like 7,000 here. You can browse. So if one was sugar maple, for example, we could say Acer Saccharum, and then we could map this to the FIA code. I'm not going to do this here, but if you wanted to, you can go through all your species and map them, which is pretty neat. I'm going to uncheck this. Next up, we need to know the diameter. So if we come here to our diameter column, we can come and find this. We have DBH, diameter at breast height. We need to know a year. So what year was the plot inventoried? You can either select this as a column. So here we have the year column. If you don't have a year column, but you know when it was inventoried, or you need to put a placeholder, you can just type in the value here. So it's 2026. And if you try to do both, it'll tell you that you can't do that. Either enter a column or a year value, not both. So that's another cool safety feature. So we have our year column. And next, if you have plot coordinates, such as your longitude, latitude, UTM, easting, northing, whatever your coordinate system is, you can enter those here as an X and Y value. If you don't have these, you won't be able to use the spatial features of FormApel, but you can still do things like make plots and aggregate to per acre or per hectare, whatever your units are. So this data, we have longitude and latitude. We can select those. Our EPSG is that long 4326. If you have a different one with your coordinates, enter that. And this will internally convert your coordinates into a system that FormApel can use. So we've selected our columns. We can go ahead and press Next. Now we need to tell FormApple our sampling design. So first of all, what are your units? Are they imperial, feet, inches, acres? Are they in metric, centimeters, hectares, meters? This is imperial, so I'm going to click imperial. And our sampling design, is it fixed area? So do your plots have a fixed size? Or is it point sampling or variable area? So did you use a prism, an angle gauge, a Crusoe, that sort of thing. So I have fixed area, I'll select this. And what we can do is we can pick an expansion factor value from our data. So if you know the plot area, plot radius, plot fraction, or the expansion factor, which can give you multiple for different plots, which is really cool, you can come here and you can select that, which is called expansion factor. If you know the value and it's fixed, but it's on a column, you can enter that here. And just to go over, if you were using point sampling, for example, if you selected this, you can either choose the basal area factor as a column, or you can enter it similar to the fixed area. But I have fixed area, so I'm going to select that. My expansion factor is just expansion factor in the data, and we're good to go. I can press next. Cool, so at this point, the selecting columns and sampling design is exactly the same between single tree tables and multiple tree tables. But since we have multiple tables, we have to join those together to make sure we create one master table, which then gets converted into a database that FormApple can efficiently use and query very quickly. So most of this is straightforward. What FormApple does is that it'll tell you the join order. So we're going to take plot, we're going to join it to tree, we're going to join other to tree. And so it kind of walks you through this automatically. So we're saying our plot data, we need to join this to tree. It'll tell you the join columns, it will detect those automatically. If you have different ones, you can specify those manually, and you can specify the join type. So left join, inner join, full join. For most of you, it should just be plot to tree, and the column should be auto-detected. Then we have our other. So this is the other tree data. We want to join this to the rest of the data. I recommend setting this to tree. So first it's going to join plot to tree, then other to tree / plot, and it will tell you the columns that match. And this should auto-detect, and the join type should be left join for most of you. Okay, so then we have our table stats here, and tell you the tree table, the number of rows and columns, the plot table, number of rows and columns, and the other table, number of rows and columns. If those look good, you can go ahead and click Format Data, and this will take your data and turn it into one master database that RealTwig can use. And you can see you can check to verify that your number of rows and columns are correct after the join. So that is how you can load your own user data into FormApple. The actual column names will be different depending on your own data set, but please make sure that you do what is best for your data. FormApple just gives you the tools to be able to get this into a format that it can use. And just to end this off, to make sure we actually loaded our data, we can come here to our map, and we can easily see that all of our plots are, again, loaded into our database, which is cool. So we're good to go. Your data has been successfully imported, and you can now use FormApple. So that is it for this tutorial. In the next one, we'll go over loading FIA data into FormApple.